Good morning and welcome back to the Comprehend This podcast. How is everybody doing this Sunday morning? I don't know about you, but I'm 2 weeks away from winter break, and the last 2 weeks of the semester, we're on the 4x4, so that means we get new kids when we come back from break. The end of the academic year for this first group of students is in December, and we start over again. So a lot of stuff happening for me. So welcome back. And today we're tackling the emotional roller coaster we call student feedback. You know that magical system where one kid writes, "This class is so fun," and another kid writes, "We never do anything." I get that one all of the time. We never do anything because what we do doesn't look like normal school. Even though they were both in the same room, breathing the same oxygen, and watching the same story about a confused alpaca. We're sorting the signal from the noise, figuring out how to get honest feedback without hosting accidental therapy sessions, and asking the eternal CI question, do they actually like class, or am I just doing dramatic monologues to teenagers who are secretly napping with their eyes open? And today we've got a great guest. Jackie Deming-Plunk is back with us, who brings the real talk wisdom to language acquisition. And we love to have her back every time. So buckle up. This one's going to hit home. And we'll be right back after the short message. Ever feel like you're clinging to the edge of your teacher planner, just hoping today's lesson magically appears? Enter the CI Survival Kit, a monthly membership made for teachers who love comprehensible input, but also love not reinventing the wheel every Sunday night. Each month, you get fresh, ready-to-use lessons, time-saving tools, and just enough structure to keep your teaching life together. No stress, no guilt, just monthly help from someone who gets it. Sign up at mm.us/survival and let the Survival Kit do the heavy lifting for once.
Welcome to Comprehend This, real talk for real language teachers. No drills, no dry theory, just honest stories, practical ideas, and a reminder you're not alone in the CI trenches. Let's dive in.
And we're back. Good morning, Jackie. How are we doing today?
Doing great, Scott. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. You are a frequent guest with us, so we love having you back each and every time. And today we've got a new topic. Do they actually like class? Student feedback, fear, and facts. So let's go ahead and get started this morning. What about from the best class ever to we never do anything feedback swings wildly? How do you sort that out between the two? Because I know I get that we never do anything. I'll talk about that after you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think a lot of it comes down to knowing your students, right? Um, for me, the ones who are like, oh, well, we never do anything in here, are the ones who do not engage more than anything else. Now, sometimes I have had, I have had students who are in that, who are really high achieving academically, but they think that, because it doesn't look like school, we're not doing the same thing as the other language classes, we're not doing it. So there's those type. And then there are the type who are not as high performing academically, and they don't necessarily have the skills to stay engaged for whatever reason that might be. And so knowing kind of what category they fall in is kind of how you have to address that. So when it's well, this doesn't look like school, if they're the more academically minded type, that's when I personally give them some of the like, okay, so here's why we do what we're doing. Here's why this works, And sometimes I'll even show them like, here's a free write you did at the beginning of the semester, and here's a free write you did 2 weeks ago. Do you see a difference? Okay, so that's one way to handle it. And then with the ones who are not engaging, those are the ones where I go, okay, well, I go over the norms again. hey, if you don't understand something, you have to let me know. I can fix what I know is a problem. I can't fix it if I don't know it's a problem. So if you're sitting there with headphones in, one or two, and just staring at me during class, then you're not giving me the feedback I need to help you. Like, I know Spanish already. I've been to Spain. I have a degree in Spanish. I have taken Spanish 1 and 2 and passed it. I don't need the class. You need the class. So, that's kind of where it is. And then, you know, sometimes, there is some legitimate, like we've been doing the same thing over and over and over for several days, and we need a routine change. We need to break up the pace a little bit, do something different. Um, but at the end of the day, it comes down to knowing the kids and knowing whether they fall into the this doesn't seem like school category, or I don't know how to engage and get the help that I need.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I wrote a couple notes down as you were talking here. But for me, the kids who say we never do anything, at least my experience, aren't those off topic kids for me. They're ones who go, this is what I do in other language classes. This is what I do in other classes. I've got work, I got classwork I've got to do. I've got that busy work to fill in the time. I've got homework that I've got to do. There's always daily assignments I have to write out and turn in. And so they don't do that. So they don't realize that they're actually doing something. They go,
Mhm.
we didn't do anything because I didn't have to turn in any work. I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to do that. All I did was sit there. And they don't realize, and even though I explained to them at the beginning of the year, they let that go right away, that when they're listening and understanding, their brain is doing much more work than it is in an English class or a math class or a science class, because they don't have to conquer the language barrier. It's not about just, paying attention and learning the topic. It is, you have a language barrier, so your brain is working 10 times harder. It's one thing not to understand math, but it's a whole nother thing not to understand math in a foreign language type of thing, because they've got to do that. And I said, I can't tell what's going on in that brain of yours. I always tell the kids, they go, this is what a kid who understands looks like, and this is what a kid who doesn't understand looks like. There ain't no difference. So you've got to show me, you've got to give me some demonstrative way that I know that I know that's what's understanding here, what's going on. And we are joined by our second guest here. Bear with me a moment while I switch screens, everybody. Let me add her in. And she'll pop in hopefully in a moment. So, welcome, Karla, just so if you can hear us. We've already gotten started a little bit. So for me, that's that big thing that is going on, that they don't understand that all that stuff that's going on, and then they'll come back to me and they'll go like 2 or 3 years after they had me, they say, Profe, in fact, I just got an email, 2 weeks about this. I'm a nurse, he said. I'm a nurse, and I remember your class. I remember the songs we did. I had a couple of years of Spanish after you at the high school, and I didn't really learn much in there, but I'm so appreciative because I can use some of the Spanish that I know to communicate in my job. And I'm like, you told me you didn't learn anything. We didn't do anything in class. And he goes, I was wrong. I just didn't realize it, because you don't realize it until you need it. It's kind of like, CPR. You kind of forget, it goes to the back of your head after your training, and then it all comes back to you when you actually kind of need it. So that's the kind of thing that I usually get. My problem this year, oh my gosh, I have my second period, which is the largest apathetic group that I have ever had. I've only got 14 kids in that class. 7 of them are failing, not just my class, but all their classes. I have one girl, I kid you not, and it's not because I'm punitive grading, has a 2% because she's only done like 2 assignments the entire semester. because she just doesn't do the work. They don't want to be there. Not just my class. They don't want to be at school. They don't want to. They don't know how to do school, and that's the one that is really hard to give that student feedback to get that information going with them, because they're so apathetic. They just don't care. No matter what I do to try to engage them, they just want nothing to do with it. They don't even get excited about games. We'll play
Yeah, I had those.
basketball. We'll play basketball, and they're arguing. You go throw the ball. No, you go throw the ball. No, you go throw the ball. I'm like, really? That's not. Most of my kids are like, woohoo, we're playing a game. We don't have to do anything else. We're playing a game right now. And I'm like, there's always a method to my madness for a game, but hello, it's a
Yeah,
game. It's not regular class. Get a little excited, you know? We've got to be here 90
yeah,
minutes together no matter what.
yeah.
So we can either make it somewhat fun and enjoyable, but I'm like, what was it, Friday, I asked them if they wanted to play Gimkit or Blookit. This is what I got. I'm like, guys, it's like pulling teeth. It's just a simple decision. Yes or no. One or the other. Then I got him. One kid goes, Blookit. The kid who always answers that question. Okay, which game in Blookit do you want to play? And I just upgraded my Blookit. I usually use free Blookit, but they had some Christmas ones, so I paid the $9.99 for the month for this. And I'm like, okay, we got all these ones available. Which one? It's crickets. I'm like, really? Okay, here's my last question. Do we want to play 2 games for 7 minutes each, or 1 game for 10 minutes? Now, any kid would say 2 games for 7 minutes each because it's 4 minutes without doing something else.
Hmm.
Nobody answered. I'm like, come on. It's like really pulling teeth for every little thing. This isn't even a Spanish decision. I'm asking you this question in English. There is no language barrier that needs to happen here. It's just as
Yeah,
simple. I said, we don't have to play a game
yeah,
at all. I've got other activities that I can do that are a lot less interesting. But
yeah,
yeah, that's been my challenge this semester. I've had kids with challenges before, but I've never had such an apathetic class. I don't think in all my teaching years have I had such an apathetic class that just doesn't care about anything that we do at all.
yeah, yeah. I had that several times at my last school district where we would have it was just complete apathy, did not care, did not want to engage, did not want to involve themselves in anything. It was always, is this for a grade?
Oh yeah, I get
Like
that.
that was about the best I got out of them. It was like, is this for a grade? And I got to the point where I told them everything's for a grade, even though the vast majority of it did not
Yeah.
go in the grade book. But it's because everything is technically for a grade because it leads up to something that is going to be for a grade.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a girl who goes. I have like 4 girls when I'm asking them conversation questions. Like I had to ask them. I mean, how hard is this question to answer? I said in Spanish, of course. It says, "Do you have a big family or a small family?" I don't want to answer. I don't want to do this activity. I'm not speaking. I'm like, and I have the sentence scaffolded on the top. It says, "Tengo una familia," and then it says "grande slash pequeña." That's it. You just literally have to read it off the damn board. And they outly
Yeah,
refuse. I'm not doing it. I'm like,
yeah,
speaking is 25% of your grade, and you're refusing. I've never had kids outright refuse, especially something so dang simple. I'm not
yeah,
asking them to give me a whole, dissertation, an oral dissertation in
right.
Spanish. I'm asking them to answer me one question, either or, and the sentence is on the board. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's challenging. Karla, your
yeah,
picture's not coming through, so I'm not sure if you're with us. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry. I'm having problems with my camera, but I've been listening and sympathizing with you guys these few minutes. I really apologize. I'll try to get my camera working. I just can't seem to get it to work right now. But
No, no worries.
I have a lot of things I could say. I apologize for my phone. I'm trying to silence it here. Yes, I experience those same things, but I tend to be I'm very unique. I'm hard in the beginning, and the expectations are there from day one about the speaking, about the apathy. I tell them I'm onto it. I understand what's going on, and that it's just not going to happen in here. So I said, eventually, when you see the family that we create, you're going to seem like you're going to stick out like a sore thumb if you know what I mean? If you don't adopt these like kind, inclusive, this is a language class. We're here to learn how to speak. And there's really one of the best ways is to practice. So I have quad set up. I have my seating set up in a certain way so kids can sit by people that they're comfortable with. But yes, I do experience that. And when I get the what I call ungratefulness, it's not just
Yeah.
apathy. It's
Yeah.
being ungrateful for someone who's there. I remind them. I'm like, listen, I put 30 minutes into this activity. We've got the holidays coming up. I've got some fun, Noel, we've got Hanukkah, we've got everything. I've done my part to try to get something that will hopefully touch all of you. We got Bodhi Day on Monday. Anyway, when they give me that kind of stuff, I kind of snap on them really quick and tell them what kind of classroom we could have. And I tell them, you've been in a CI classroom. You have no idea how boring this classroom could be. So do you can I go get the worksheets? I'll go get them.
Yeah.
We can conjugate ER verbs for the rest of the period. I got to get caught up on grading that the school now doesn't give me enough time. So if you want to do that, and it will be worth points. And don't
Yeah.
forget who is in charge of your citizenship grade and who's also in charge of not just your letter grade, your citizenship and your work habits grade. Now, I happen to teach in a district where the parents are involved and there is pressure. But of course, I want them to be extrinsically motivated. And luckily, I do have them. Yes, that's my picture.
Yeah. I'm trying to put it in a little spot so
No,
so we
that's
can
fine.
explain.
So yeah. But yes, sometimes you have to do what you have to do just to even get them like intrinsically motivated and remind them about the points. And then just sometimes just having that kind of talk, like, listen, guys, it's like 9 a.m. and you're in French class. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we just bring it down a second? We're just playing a game here. We're like what you said. It is Friday. We're trying to end the week. I'm tired too. But you know what? We're here. So let's do something. So, anyways, that's kind of how I try to deal with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I set those expectations, but this class has just been very different and just, I don't know what it is. They don't care all those little things that are going on. And it turned the other 7 kids in my classroom to not like the class as well. None of us like that class because we've tried classroom resets. We've done all kinds of things. And whatever it is, it's just it's not working. And some of them, I have one kid who does not, we all 4 of his teachers, because we're on the 4x4, have complained about this kid. He's a nice kid, but he does absolutely nothing in class at all. Not a thing. Not in all 4 of his classes. I would go crazy. I would just do something so I wouldn't be bored for 90 minutes times 4. But he does nothing in his classes. And in my class, he plays dumb. He's a native speaker of Spanish in a regular Spanish 1 class. He should be in our Spanish language arts class. He goes, I don't speak Spanish. I'm like, don't lie. The instructions on the computer says contact parents in Spanish only. They don't speak English. You are also in an ESL class. So, and every once in a while, I'll get him to chime in, but he'll play dumb like, no, he won't answer a question. I'm like, come on, you know the answer. And then I'll make some kind of funny little joke in Spanish. Like I'll make a comment because 2 kids are talking together. My little thing is always, whenever 2 kids always keep talking, I'm like, oh, is this a budding relationship? Are you in love? And he starts laughing at all these, and all the other kids don't understand what I'm saying at all. And he's cracking up. I'm like, I know you know the language. So of all your classes, this one you could get an A in. You don't have to struggle this way. He goes, but it's too easy. Then you shouldn't be in this class, but because you're here, you might as well get that easy A. But they never do.
Yeah. Right. And
I mean,
it's like,
go
go ahead,
ahead.
Carla.
No,
Oh
no,
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 I was
you
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say, if you're gonna complain about that. And it's like, okay, well, then you need to prove to me that you're going to actually do the work to be in the other class that you should be in because it's so easy in here, but then they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I have a native speaker who signed up for honors and then did not start doing any of the summer assignments that he was supposed to do that would have been super easy for him because he's a heritage speaker in ESL. Didn't do it. Finally, Dad was like, "Yeah, I think he's just going to take regular." And I was like, "Yeah, that's probably the correct choice for him
Yeah.
because he's
I
just
do
lazy."
have a couple students that this year, it is surprising. I will say I agree. I have a few that just will not do anything. So I think I have about 135 total. I might have a couple where I'm constantly babysitting, and I do tell them, I'm like, okay, I got to babysit you. I go, listen, I don't care if you just copy the story we just read word for word. Like you don't want to answer the
Mhm.
question, but you cannot sit there. I tell them, I tell the whole class, you cannot sit here and just suck up the air. You got to actually give
Yeah.
something back. You can't just take up our air. You must do something back. And I tell them that in the beginning again. If you never picture yourself ever talking to anyone in this class, this might not be the class for you. And I know some people would disagree with that because you want the numbers, but I'll tell them from the very beginning. I give very little homework. I try to do all of the learning in class. That's just but you got to buy into it. So that's what I was saying about the beginning. So then
Yeah.
when I do get those people who are like, yeah, whatever, lady, I'm going to do what I want anyway. I will be your biggest nightmare. I will come over 5 times and ask you to pick up that pencil. And then I do something that no one likes to do, but sometimes it really, really works. And I did it with the one kid that I was experiencing that with, who just when I was gone, some days I know what he's doing. He's distracting everyone, not doing anything. He's got one of the lower grades of the class, and he just doesn't care about a lot of things. Well, I did reach out to the parents, and they said, you're the only person who has reached out about my kid, and I'm aware, and you know what, I appreciate it.
Oh, we lost Karla. Oh, there
Email
it is.
or phone call, and I have found that with those kids, those parents do care. They don't want their kid to be that kid, and maybe they're struggling at home too, but that's just what I have found with those kind of extreme ones where I just get in there with the parents and just say this isn't working.
Yeah, unfortunately, in my district, those parents are just as apathetic. They don't really care about their kids. I mean, that came out wrong. They do care about their kids. They don't care about their kids' grades or their behavior in the classroom. They're like, they just after a while they even stop. They'll start responding positively in the beginning, like I'll talk to them, but after a while they just shut up and stop saying anything and let their kids go. And I'm like, I had one parent this year goes, education's really important to me, and I had both of her kids in my class, both of them. They're twins, and I'm like, okay, great, we can work on this, get this going. By the third week of school, it's a boy girl twin. The boy was removed from my classroom because I'm in a satellite part of the school and he can't be observed as much. And he's such a problem, behavioral wise, grade wise, inappropriateness, all that stuff. So they pulled him back to the main campus for the whole day, and he still gets in trouble. His list is huge, and then mother's not involved, doesn't really care about doing that. And then the girl, the moment that her brother was taken off that campus and going to the main campus, she shut down. And so both of them are failing all 4 classes. So you can't tell me that you think education's important if you're letting your kids fail out of their freshman year, essentially putting them on a 5-year plan because now they have to make up 4 classes, and we only allow them to make up 1 class per summer. So now their next 4 summers are already taken for these first 4 classes. They have a whole new set of classes coming up in January, another 4, and then they've got 3 more years after that. So I think it's just the area that I'm in. I have a mixture of social economical situations in my area, and it's apparent. It shows up that some of the parents are apathetic as well, which doesn't help the kids at all. So it's just a struggle. It is a struggle all the way around.
And a parent can think that education is important and not know what to do about it. I think a lot of parents just they get into parenting. They have children because they think that's what they're supposed to do, or something happens and they end up with a kid that they didn't really plan on having, whatever. But then they don't know what to do. Like, they don't know how to do discipline with their children, and they don't know how to, like, raise their children in a way where their children are respectful and do the things that they're supposed to do. And so, like, you can think, oh yeah, education is important, but not have a single clue of how to help your child access that,
And that's very true.
and
But a
that's
lot
something
of
we can
us,
help them.
yeah, a lot of
And
us,
that's
like
not
I,
something we as teachers can do anything about,
yeah, a lot of us
unfortunately.
put in the information because we have academic outreach, we have parenting classes, we've got lots of different things, and we put that in there. Like because we have to give out a legal statement about your child is failing at certain points of the year because we have to at least give them 2 notices, or we can't fail them by state law. You can't fail them if you haven't given the parents notices. So even though they've got progress reports and report cards, that's not enough. You have to give them notice before those. So I have a standard email that I use for that, and I give them all the little resources that go on. And the assistant principals will pull the parents in about discipline and give them suggestions and how we can do it. But like the parent doesn't know, I don't want my child in detention. I don't want my child doing this. I don't want my child doing that. And so it's like our hands are completely tied because they're putting all these little restrictions on there. So we do try to give them opportunities, and I know that some may, like you said, be inexperienced parents and such but by high school I would hope that they've gotten some help along the way if they're really having trouble. Now this one kid, let's see, we'll call him B. It has no relation to his name, but I'm just saying he says he talks to his mother the same way that he talks to us and the assistant principal, which is horribly disrespectful and loud and uses cuss words. And I'm like, I would not be alive today if I talked to my mother that way. My mother would have
Yeah,
kicked me, killed me, completely killed me.
yeah,
But so
yeah.
I can certainly see what you're saying, but I think at some point they need to seek some help if they're really having that struggle.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. I don't say that to um, absolve the parents of
Yeah,
responsibility. It's more of a, you know, this is a situation that we
yeah,
deal with, that we don't have, like, I, as a classroom teacher, do not have the ability to fix that. And like, my
yeah,
district does have some resources for that kind of thing. There's a lot of places where those resources aren't accessible.
yeah.
And I love that your district has that. And but you're right, there are parents who are still not going to do that because they do truly do not care about their
Or they don't see that it's a problem,
100%.
or
They
they
don't care
think that,
about their children. They don't
yeah,
care about their children. They don't care about what their children are going to become and the path that they are putting their children on by
right.
not parenting their
And the
children.
doors by closing the doors for opportunities for them. Yeah.
Hmm.
Karla, at this moment, why don't we take a little bit of a break so that you can talk about yourself a little bit, let everybody know who you are?
Okay. So I am a teacher in Southern California. I am a native Spanish speaker, born in Mexico, and I just took French in high school because I felt that Spanish was too easy. And so I've got both of those, and I've been teaching using, I guess, well, first TPRS and then CI, and now it's just kind of really my own thing. Thankfully, the entire time that I have been teaching, I, broke away from, not that I didn't love the way that I was taught. So that's kind of my story. I've developed my own curriculum, and I do, a lot of work, engage, how to engage students. But like I said, it took a long time for me to get to where I am. I absolutely command respect, and I do come in with a strong presence in the beginning, and some of those things that they say, like, don't smile until
Mm-hmm.
October. I wouldn't go that extreme, but I say, guys, I am you will think that some of you will think I am the most chill, relaxed teacher because there's a lot of big picture things I do not stress about. I go, however, the respect towards me, and the respect towards each other and the fact that this is a language class and then I'm going to get you to turn to talk to one another constantly in here, that is not negotiable. So I spend like 2 days and they probably are like, enough, lady. However, it sets the tone because I can't teach the way I do if I don't have that buy-in, because there's a lot of chatting. I do a lot of personalized questions and answers. Every Monday, I share what I did over the weekend, and then we could spend almost the entire period talking about them. So all of that requires a lot of like molding in the beginning. And then the kids that know me, they're like, yay, because I tend to teach them sometimes for up to 4 years. They like these routines. So I'm all about the routines, and you got to have myself personally. I'm not such a structured person, but I have learned and just become a structured teacher where I need to be, so that I can be unstructured where I need to be. And I know I make it sound easy, but it's hard because sometimes you have to be the bad guy. Well, can we just do this? Well, can we just do that? Or like I'll play a video of my favorite storyteller, Alisa Yell. They'll be like, oh no. I say, excuse me, that is my friend, and you are not going to disrespect my friend from across the globe. You will watch it and you have two choices. You can either watch it and learn something and get better at French, or you can pretend. That's it. Yeah, and so it sounds, but once they get to know me, they know that's just, Madam McCann asserting herself. However, I really am not that person. So I don't know how to describe it because you guys don't know me, but you'd get to know what I mean.
Yeah.
I absolutely, when it comes to respect, I think that's where I'm like, I'll crack the whip and I'm not non-negotiable. And after a while, those bad kids or those apathetic or those ones that are always, they do stick out like a sore thumb. They're the ones that, but it's taken me a long time to get here. So anyways, that's it.
My thing always is that it's always for me was always try to get that particular kid the kid who's a potential troublemaker on my side from right away in the beginning. So
Absolutely.
so I'll go right away and I will, let's say if we're going to, like I start the first couple of weeks. Why is my screen not working right? I start the first couple of weeks always, doing the conversations with kids, getting to know who my kids are. And I'll pick that kid, the one that I can see right away is going to try to give me trouble. I'll pick him right away and start getting him on my side, making him look successful. Because lots of times it's because they don't feel they by the time they've gotten to me, they've had so many bad experiences with school that they're over it and they want nothing to do with it anymore. And so they've been made to look dumb or not smart or embarrassed in class. And so I want to get them right away and make them look like they're smart, they're intelligent, they're engaging, because I get them right away on that side. I work really hard to try that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But at least showing them that in this class they're the smartest kid in the room can sometimes deflect the attitude that they're getting, because I make sure that they're successful. I only ask them questions that I know that they can answer, so that it makes them look smart in front of their peers. They don't have to go, well, I don't know what you're saying, or I don't understand that, or I don't know the answer to that. I never ask them questions that are so challenging that they can't answer. It's always a yes, no, or an either or. And 9 times out of 10, I'm pointing at the answer at the same time. And that kid notices I'm pointing at the answer, but the other kids don't really notice that I'm pointing at the answer because they don't need me to point the answer out. So they're not even looking for like some kind of life preserver to be handed out to them, where this kid is desperate. He's looking for the life preserver to get out of the situation. So I try to work on that too in the beginning of the year. Always try to get them, and I'll start again in January. I'll get a new class set of kids coming up. So we'll try it again, and hopefully I just won't get that apathetic class.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean about that type of kid too. I will spot them right away. And even if I have to like crack, whatever, say something one day, as soon as you see them doing something good, you go on to the praise, like, oh my gosh, let's just call him, I don't know, Lucas or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Lucas, you did that. Did everyone see how Lucas just did this? Do that again, Lucas. Say it one more time. And then, they look around sometimes like victorious, like, that's right. The teacher is highlighting me, and absolutely. So when they're always, that's one thing I think that gives me the buy-in, is that, yes, if I catch you being disrespectful or saying something rude or whatever, I will say something. But if I catch you doing something great, I try to do more praising than I do reprimanding. So I do I'll be like, a lot of applause for the dumbest
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
then they buy into that. Anyways.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That little policy of, giving 2 positives for every 1 negative, or PBIS says you've got to give 5 to 1. So 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction in there. That's not always possible because sometimes it's
Oh,
really
I like
hard to
that.
find. But yeah, PBIS, I forget always what it stands for. Positive
Good
behavior
cognitive
intervention is there. Is that, I think that's what it is. I don't remember.
system or something.
Yeah,
I
you
love
know,
that. Thank
Yeah.
you for teaching me that. I'm going to focus on that.
yeah, because it's funny because I am on the PBIS committee. I don't even know what the dang thing means. Stands for. I know what it is, but not what it stands for. But it's positive behavior intervention systems or something like that. But yes, they always recommend 5 to 1. And anybody can go to the PBIS website, which is a really good resource because you can plug in the discipline issue you're having with your student and it gives you some suggestions of what to do. So that is really helpful. So if anybody's struggling with that, that is a great resource. Let's move on a little bit here and talk about collecting usable feedback. So, what methods do you use to give honest insight to your students without turning into a therapy or a lecture or doing so much work on your end? Because, as Karla said, they're giving us less and less time to actually grade and assess and give that feedback. So, we need to economize our time, couldn't even think of the word, economize our time. And we talked, I believe it was last week, we talked about a balance between, your school life and your personal life, and we need to have that balance. So, what kinds of things do you use in each of your classrooms to collect that feedback and give that feedback back to students so that they can take action upon that? And whoever wants to start can.
Go ahead, Jackie. You can go first.
Okay. So I usually keep it pretty simple. Um, if I notice that there's a specific issue with like a specific student, I will usually go ahead and just pull them and be like, yo, what's going on? You know, I um am I would not say that I'm 100% fluent in Gen Z, Gen Alpha slang, but I am better at it than the average bear, it seems. And so I will employ it when needed to like get them to level with me and be like, listen, I can speak your language. What is going on? Like, um, and if I need a more um broader set of feedback, I usually just do a Google form. And when I do a Google form, one of the things I lead with getting them to evaluate their own actions because I firmly believe that students need to own their own behavior. They need to learn the accountability of they need to show up and they need to choose to engage, and I can't choose that for them. If I could unscrew the top of their skull and take Spanish and just shove it in there and put the lid back on, I would do that because then I could do other things with my time. But I can't do that, and I tell them that. If I could do that, I would. This is the closest thing I have to doing that, so that's what we're going to do. So if you are not doing the things that you need to do, you need to recognize that and you need to choose to make that change because I can't change it for you. Now, if there are breakdowns in what I'm doing, then I do want to know that. But we're going to start with putting it on you of what am I doing that is contributing to this. So that's kind of
Absolutely.
where I stand.
How about you, Karla?
I think I misunderstood the question. Like we were asking about assessment. Is that what you were saying? I think I
Yeah, that's what I'd like. Yeah, feedback on their progress in language.
in language. Okay, so I keep a portfolio of my students. So I keep anything that shows written work that came from their head. I collect it all year. And if I have them for multiple years, like I have students that have now been with me for 4 years, they have a huge portfolio. So really it's written work, right? Written work. The best assessment is what can come out of their head. And so I guess I would put that at the top. Of course, I have my multiple choice because you need to give that to some of the students who don't shine with being assessed by what can you do, but they shine in other ways. They're good at memorizing. They put in the work. You know, some students have to work harder to become fluent or write better or speak better in the target language, but really it's writing. And how do I do it so that I don't have to spend my whole life? It is now the true assessment to me is writing or speaking. So either they make a language video. I have a partnership with the school in France, and we exchange 6 videos throughout the year. You know, intro videos we present our school. So that's one way I assess. And then, of course, you know, the standard quizzes where did you know what happened in the story? And then for me, the top is writing. So what in the story of whatever, Nuit Mystérieuse, Mysterious Nights, Noches Misteriosas, you know what I mean? Write to me, like when we get to level 2, I want them to tell me like, what part was the saddest for you? Or what part did you find funniest? And so to me, that's the type of assessment. Now, we practice a ton of it and we do rough drafts and I get them really set up and we go over the types of vocab that they likely, and I'm all about going back to the text. So I give my students the prompts ahead of time. I am not a gotcha teacher. And here's what I'm going to ask you on the written part of the big test. And so I do short writing prompts is what I've started doing, so that I can still see how they're writing and how they're, you know, but I don't have to spend a ton of time grading it. So just shorter prompts. And maybe in the past I'd have them do a longer written, you know, mini essay or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with you as well. The writing and the speaking are for me, that's why it's so high in my grade book, because that really tells me what what they can do in the language. If they can speak it, then I know they can understand listening, because in order to get to speak, you have to understand what you hear. And I know when I assess writing that they have to actually be able to understand reading, because reading is the stepping stone to writing. So if I only had to assess 2 things, all I would ever assess would be speaking and writing, because those 2 things already will tell me how well they understood language that they hear and understood language that they saw, because those are stepping stones. You can't get to the speaking and writing until you can understand. And then I do it a lot of different ways. I do exit tickets. I have my exit tickets that are going, and I make my exit tickets kind of a little bit goofy, so they're not the same type of thing every time. Like the one I'm going to be giving on Monday is, if you could explain one thing from this class to a 5-year-old, how would you do it? So that not only do they have to go back and think about what we did in class and pick something, but then they've also got to then put it in their own words, and then take those words and now lower them down to a 5-year-old's level. So that takes a lot of higher brain power, and they really synthesize that information, and I can get a really good feedback as to whether or not they understood what we did that day or not. My 2 really good things that I love, and the videos I'm going to talk about started in COVID, and I can't even think now what the name of that app was. It went out. They closed it like 2 years ago. I used Flipgrid. I used to use Flipgrid for recording these, because I could have kids interact with each other on the Flipgrid and back and forth. I have not found a good replacement for that actually allows for kids to have that interaction with each other on the video. But what I use for that now is Formative. Um, and so formative, I can have them do a recorded video because I want to make sure they're not reading off something. A recorded video of a question that we did that day. And so it started in COVID because we were, online, and I had no interaction with my kids, so I could get that, which helped me learn their names faster because I'm seeing their picture with their name all that time. But I was getting a really good sense of their speaking ability over time, because normally I'd have a speaking assessment. In level 1, I wouldn't even do the first speaking assessment until the third month of school because they got to have all that language put in their head first. But then it would be maybe I give, 2 or 3 speaking assessments, a grading period. And that really is not enough to get a good picture. I mean, yes, we're having conversations and interactions regularly throughout the time, but this constant thing like the videos really helped me. It solidified, and I had evidence that I could back up, and I got to really know the kids' speaking ability over time. So that's one of the things I do. So we do, because I'm on a 90-minute block every day, we spend, Mondays is the weekend talk, but every other Tuesday through Friday, I have one question to ask kids. And I was talking to Jackie off air earlier. The question, one of the questions this past week was, do you have a large or small family? Because we're reviewing the family vocabulary. So that's what we were talking about. And then the second question this week was, who's your favorite family member and why? So we go and answer these questions orally in class together, and then I give them 3 minutes to go and record their video on their Chromebook right away. And then I can go back and view those and really get a good sense. Do they all get graded? Absolutely not. I mean, I'll put a grade so the kids can see it on there, but the grade doesn't always go into the book in there. And that second one that I love is quick writes. I hate the writing that comes on a final exam or a midterm because kids have so much time to make their writing look pretty. And I want to see the rawness, because when it's raw and they don't have time to fix their mistakes, I can see where their strengths and where their weaknesses are, and then use that to help build my lessons going forward. So I love quick writes. Another tool that I use is formative.com. That's where all my assessments go in, all my class activities. Anything that they're turning in for a grade goes into formative. And I like formative.com. It's worth my $15 a month I pay for that, because they have, like, I want to say 15 to 20 different types of activities you could have kids do. There is, drag and drop, like fill in the blank, so they can drag and drop. They have short answer. They have essay answer. They have scramble, so you can put like a story sentences together, like, we used to cut the strips, and they can drag and drop them and put them in order. Some of the things can be auto-graded. Some of the things can't. I can make rubrics, which makes it really easy for me to assess using a rubric. So I can do multiple choice, short answer, fill in the blank. All of those things I can do. Audio responses, video responses are all there. So I love this tool so much, and it keeps track of every student based off the standards, because I can assign a standard to everything I do, and I can go and look at that student and see much better than the gradebook, because the gradebook does not, do it by standard. I can't see it that way, and I can't see it all nice and pretty in our gradebook like I want to. I can go in there and see the standards. 1.1, which is the interpersonal skills, and 1.2 is the interpretive skills. I can go and see where my kids' strengths and weaknesses are on individual very easily with formative. So I like that. But why it's great for feedback is I can record oral feedback. So I don't want to type. I just hit the button and I can go and talk to the kid right then and there and say my feedback right to them about that assignment. They can also, during a test or an assessment or whatever they're doing, they can pose a question to me right away and it pops up on my screen. I can see it live and I can answer that. So that prevents the kid coming up to the class and goes, I thought the answer to number 4 was A, but could it possibly be, can you help me with this one? And you're giving away the answers orally to the whole class. It's happened to me so many times back before, but now they can just pose that question secretly right in there and I can go ahead and answer. I can also group feedback. So I can go, everybody who put B, which is a wrong answer for number 2, I can say, everybody who put B, and I can type one time the feedback for that question, why it's wrong, and click send, and it goes to all those, just those kids who got it wrong. And then the best part about it, you can save and pin common feedback, things that you always write, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one, like, this needs to be answered in Spanish, or whatever. I can just use the pinned ones too and just click on the pinned ones so I don't have to type them up every time. Plus, they keep the last like 10 that you wrote. So you can just click those. If you don't want to save them forever, you can just click on those. So it saves me so much time. Now, if I didn't have formative, I was trying to look this up while you guys were talking. The one app that I really, really like for giving oral feedback to kids is called Mote. MOTE.com. Let me put it here in the chat. Mote.com. This is a relatively inexpensive app. They do have a free version, which allows them to record 20 voice recordings, 1 minute limit. And then you can listen to the voice notes that the kids can respond back to. It works really well. But for $60 a year, it's $59.40. You get many more features, and that doesn't come out to very much for the year, even on a teacher's budget. But you can have it read aloud some things. If you have a kid who needs special needs and they need it to be read to them, it'll do that. You can leave unlimited voice responses up to 5 minutes. So you're not limited to those 20. You can save and reuse voice recordings, so some kind of feedback you use over and over and over again. It'll translate into 60 plus different languages. So if you have a kid whose English is not their first language, and then you can create classes so you can monitor it back and forth. So I don't use this app because I have something else and I have no affiliation with this app. I'm not getting any kickback from it. It's just an app that I know that teachers have used and found very, very useful for giving that feedback. So there's lots of different things, plus all the other feedback that we do, in class with, it doesn't have to be pencil and paper feedback all the time. Having, listening to the kids when they answer the questions, observing what they're doing. Even games, Gimkit and Blookit, which are the two most versatile games that I use in my classroom. The kids think it's just a game and they're competing against each other for candy. But in the back end, I can see which questions they got right, which ones they got wrong. And I know they adapt and give the questions the kids get wrong, get thrown at them more often than other questions. So that's even a type of formative assessment that I can do, that I can get feedback and I can look at and see, oh, all my students got this question wrong, and so now I need to work on that question. Or just this small group of kids, or just this one kid. So I can always adapt and differentiate my lessons going forward based on that information. And my kids just played a game on Blookit or played a game on Gimkit, and they didn't do anything else, but I still got feedback. It was like a quiz, and they didn't even realize that it was like a quiz. And it's repetitive because I'll play like for 10 minutes at a time. And so those questions, there might be only 25 questions in there. In 10 minutes, they're getting those questions over and over and over and over and over again. So it really is helpful. And you can make questions about anything. They could be verb conjugation questions. They can be vocabulary questions. They could be story questions. And here's a little cheat sheet. Use ChatGPT. You can put, let's say, like I have a vocab list that we have to use from school. I'll take the the Spanish vocab list. I'll upload a ChatGPT along with like a Blookit or a Gimkit blank template that they have for uploading the answers. And I'll tell ChatGPT, please take this vocabulary. I want you to ask the questions in English. give me 4 multiple choice answers, and fill in this template for me for Blookit or for Gimkit, whatever. And in 2 minutes flat, they give me a downloadable file that I can upload to Blookit or Gimkit, and I don't have to type in all the A, B, C, D options. It saves me so much time. So use ChatGPT as a classroom assistant. It works wonders, and it will put them in those particular formats for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So those are my ways of giving feedback that is allows kids to take action upon that feedback. Or for me, because most of the feedback, let's be honest, the kids aren't going to really take it or pay much attention, but I'll use it for myself because I'll make notes and say, oh, I see all these kids are having trouble with this particular thing, and I can use that information for myself when I'm going to make lesson plans going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of note card exit tickets for that kind of feedback. And I mostly just kind of skim them for, okay, what do I need to target a little bit more in future classes? When it comes to giving feedback to students, that is an area that I could stand to grow in, although I usually get pretty high scores on that in my evaluations. So I
Yeah.
don't know. But and it does, it comes down a lot to time and having like, and I wish I had more time to conference with students so I could say, here's what I'm seeing, here are some things that you should maybe look at, try to pay more attention to in class, and that'll help you grow in this and this. But I mean, there's always
Yeah.
more to be done. So,
That's what I would love to be able to do as well if I had more time to be able to have conferences with kids. But there's no time in the schedule for that. And with my high school kids, and in the area that I teach in, like in my middle school, I could have done it better, where I could talk to kids and have kids do something else and not have to babysit them. But in my classes now, the moment I take my eyes off what they're doing is the moment that all hell is breaking loose in my classroom. So I can't take the time in the classroom to actually, interact with the kids like that one-on-one, where I can go through and go with their essay or whatever they wrote and talk about that. So that is one area that I would love to have more time in. I wish in high school they would schedule like those conference times in there along with finals, that we can have that, give us one day where we can schedule kids an appointment for kids to be able to talk about them and their grades, and have that one-on-one with them, because in the classroom it's just not always feasible to do. We are coming to the end already. I know it's coming so quickly. Any final words that you want to say about students enjoying or not enjoying class, what you can do for that, or giving them constructive feedback to help them improve their language, both topics we were talking about today? Any final words?
Carla, I'll let you go first this time.
Yeah, I was listening to what you were saying about, yes, we don't have enough time, and my school has confirmed it. I mean, that I had to write, I was asked to write 20 letters of recommendation. We used to get a day off to do all that if you were, getting a lot of requests first from seniors. If you had 3 or more preps, you'd get a day, and I have 4 different preps that went away as well. I've just made peace with it rather than be bitter about it or try to find ways to create more work for myself. I will be 100% honest. And I was honest with the school about it. They were like, yeah, sorry, those 2 paid days for you to, you know what I mean? Be able to do all these extra things. And by the way, I also host 6 clubs in my classroom because the kids want to be in there. I know, and I'm just going to tell on myself. Especially around the holidays when things get crazy, I have review things that they do. Well, I take the last 15 minutes, like every maybe 3 weeks, I will have a 30-minute on a Friday where you can do connect the dots and review your numbers in French and make Christmas trees and candy canes out of it. Or I also have like French themed just coloring things, which like 90% of the kids love it, where they're just like these black and white detailed things like Joyeux Noël and I've got the Hanukkah ones. And I take this, I'm open for my office hours. If you want to come talk to me, or if I got something, I'm going to use this time to catch up on grading. And it's like, you can come and talk to me right now. If you've got a question about your grade or about how we can help you improve your grade. So that is something brand new. And I did that honestly to save my sanity, and the kids love those like 30 minutes to sit and chit chat. And I try, like in my level 3s and 4s, it has to be francais, franglais, chit chatting about life. That's fine. I put French music on, and that has really helped me. So I do something kind of productive. Sometimes it's the weather. Sometimes we're going to do a little, la météo review. Sometimes we're just going to review things that I never would have done before, because I am so CI oriented. But you got to do what you got to do, because at the end of the day, we also have to take care of ourselves. And I'm not going to bring 8 hours worth of work home with me anymore. So there it is. I'm telling
Absolutely.
myself.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you the one thing that I can get my kids to work on and not be disruptive is coloring. But there's no academic value to that. So, like for when we did the Day of the Dead, I had some coloring pages they did, because at the main campus they do a big display. They all do the altars. They do the marigolds. They decorate the hall with papel picado. They go all out. They spend a whole week doing all this stuff. Well, I'm on a satellite spot. I don't have a spot to put any of those things where anybody could see them, like out in the hallway. We don't have a hallway. We're outside. So there's no hallway. So the best I can do is put decorations up on my windows so when people walk by, they can see them. So all I can do is coloring. And that they were the quietest they've ever been. And they're like, "Can I have another one?" They wanted. I only required one coloring, and they wanted to do two and three. And
Absolutely.
so, but
Absolutely. They're still kids, though. They're still kids. They
they
still
are
want that time, and they appreciate you for not. And like I said, it's not every day. It's just, you know what I mean? It's a Friday. We've worked hard. And I tell them, okay, this coming Friday, we're going to build in. Okay, if you like grammar, I got some grammar worksheets for you. But if you want to sit and chat in Franglais Friday, we're going to take the last 30 minutes. You want to come talk to me about your grade? Great. But I'm going to be looking over stuff. And if I find something in your writing and you happen to be here, I might call you over to teach you something that I'm noticing you're doing wrong. So I can't, like what you guys were saying, we don't have time to conference with them. I've just found a way to build it in. And like I said, 30 minutes every 3 weeks, once a month, it's not going to kill anything. You're not going to lose all this
Yep.
instructional opportunity. And many will love you for it. The ones, I don't want to label anyone. I don't want to say like the whatever, the more, that want to do work and they're more like little robots. Fine. You want to practice the passé composé? I got a slew of stuff. If you want to choose these 30 minutes, there's like, I don't want to color, or I already know my numbers all the way to 1,000. I don't want to do the connect. Okay, let's get you something else. So anyway, that's what I
awesome. That's great, great, great.
Yeah, I
What
love
about you,
that.
Jackie?
Um, I mean, I- for me, I always try to take the opportunity to, like, if I can tell that they're squirrely and they're wanting to go off the rails a little bit, if we've been doing what we need to do for the most part, I usually allow that. Um, and I usually use it as a time to do kind of like a lore drop with the kids, and I will tell them something about my life because I am fascinating to them because I'm not from West Tennessee. And I have been to a lot of places that they have not, and so I will, tell them stories and stuff like that. But and the ones who need that kind of connection to be able to buy in, they love it. And the ones that don't give a rip, then it's a break for them to be like, okay, Profe is just rambling about how amazing she is or whatever, whatever. And they kind of tune out, or they tune in and eventually they start being interested. But and I tell them like I want this to be fun and I want us to learn and all this other stuff. And sometimes that means it's kind of boring and we just kind of have to get through it. But, if you don't like this activity, there's other activities, and we'll circle around to something that you like again, and life will be good. So
Absolutely. And I
I
think
love the Friday idea that Karla mentioned, though. I might steal that.
I'll say mine.
It's coloring sheets in every language. They exist. Like right now, I've got the Noel ones, and like I said, and maybe during the December, I use them twice in the month. But they're like $1 for 8 different ones, related to the holidays in the target language. It's awesome. That was the best $1 or $3 I've spent.
I also go to
Yeah.
Canva. I can find images on Canva for them too to do that. So that's another way to do that kind of thing. Because yeah, I make them and I make my own little packets so I can use them. I have one for Day of the Dead. I have one for Christmas time. Different holidays to do that, so I can display that up there. Now, what I will say, in that Jackie talked about a bit, was activities, multiple activities. You might not like this activity, but give it 5 more minutes and we'll be in another activity and you might like that one better. So doing a multitude of activities that engage students in different ways can really help, because the kids who want to be moving it up around, we've got these few activities to do. The kids who want to sit down and put their heads focused on something, we've got that activity for that. We've got the visual activities, we've got the audio activities, lots of different ways. So they're not all going to hit a home run with every student, but if you have a variety of activities, that's going to really help overall with your kids in your classroom, and balancing that fun versus acquisition kind of thing that we're talking about. And then, like you were talking about your fun Fridays, your Franglais Fridays, what I have done, and I started it, was it second? Yeah, I think I did second semester last year, because I taught high school for 11 years, went to middle school for 11 years, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I decided post-COVID to come back to high school. I'm in my second year of my second era, my second journey into high school. But second semester last year, I started this thing where I've always kept track of if kids are working on what we're supposed to be doing. So during our song, is everybody up and singing? They get a point. If not, I get a point. And then the points would add up towards like party points or free time, not free time points, but party points or class candy points or another fun activity time points. And there's kind of like the PAT time from Fred Jones. I think that's the one who came up with preferred activity time. So I've done it that way. But last year I changed it up. I still do those points that way, but any points they earned in that class period up to 15 is free time at the end of the class. So I get them to work, because I have them for 90 minutes. So I'll get them to work really well for 75 minutes and then up to 15 minutes max. And most times they only get 8 to 10 minutes of free time, but that's like, you stay off your phones, I'll give you this time at the end to be able to use your phones. If you do this, you can play, do whatever you want during that last time, as long as it's not, causing mayhem in the classroom. You can do those types of things. And that has worked really, really well to give them that, because I expect 75 minutes of good time before we get that. And what's great about this, and the kids don't realize it, I am in complete control. So if I know I've got more stuff I have to cover today, I'm not as liberal at giving them points that I normally would. And then if they're being really, really good, or let's say they were really, really bad yesterday behavior-wise, they were too chatty and not on task, then I'm going to work really hard to try to give them more bonus points, letting them know, oh, look, you guys are really being on task today, and give them an extra point in there so they can earn some, so they realize, if we are behaving and doing what we're supposed to be doing, we get that maximum of up to 15 minutes of free time. And when I spoke to my administrators, they're like, especially my PBIS administrators, like, this is great, because they're working hard to earn that time, and they don't always get that time. And the average in my class is between 7 and 10 minutes. They rarely get the full 15 minutes. But it's kind of like your Franglais Fridays, that they have something that they can do. And it's not about language. It's complete free time. I'm not expecting them to do. But if they're behind on work, some kids choose to get caught up on their work during that time as well. Some just use it as free phone time or go on their Chromebooks and play video games. I don't care because it's like their earned time because I got 75 minutes of quality time from them. And if I didn't get 75 minutes of quality time with them, then they don't get the free time. So that also works. Those are some other ideas. Any final words before we say goodbye today?
I just want to say thanks for inviting me. I always love to talk to other teachers. You guys have given me like a bunch of ideas, the PBIS, just lots of little tidbits that I'm hearing that you guys, works for you in the classroom. So that's very, but at the end of the day, don't stress too much about it. That's what I've kind of let go a little bit, is just the expectation. I used to be able to teach at this level. I do 55-minute periods. I see my kids every single day for 55 minutes. And I used to be on the whole 55 minutes because that's ideally you're feeding them the language. We're doing PQAs. We're doing the Monday thing on Fridays. What are you gonna do? I teach the future tense. If I can't, that's okay. I'm not going to be frustrated about it anymore because, if I do teach that way still, I unfortunately have way too many things that now I have to do a pile of work after the bell rings when everyone goes home. And so just don't stress out. Be a little bit easy on yourself. If you can't get it all done, just do your best. I think if you're doing engaging activities that get them to speak, that get them to hear the language, you're already like so ahead of the curve. You could have a classroom that's perfect, that are doing grammar worksheets all day. And I'm sure if you ask those kids, they'd rather be in your class, even if they sometimes act apathetic. And just remind them what it could be like. I'm doing my best. Can we all just put some effort in here? So those are, just like be real with them and just say, I understand. But you know what? You're here. And let's, even if it's a silly little thing, we're dancing, we're doing French turkey yoga. I don't care. You know what I mean? Just like everyone be a little bit easier on themselves. It's all going to be okay. That's my final word.
Oh, great. Yep. Anything else for you from you, Jackie?
I think Karla hit it on the head. One of my big mantras is I tell the kids, I cannot care more than you do. And if you are choosing to not care and you repeatedly choose that, then that is the choice that you've made. And when you want to come back in and get engaged and be a part, then we're going to do that. Every day is a new day. And, and I emphasize, I'm like, I care about you guys. I want you to be in here, and I fortunately have an example in my building of how different it could be. And the kids know that. And so it's one of those things where I don't let them badmouth my colleague, but they do recognize, hey, we could be in this other class where we really are not learning anything, it feels like.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, with CI, like I have kids in Spanish 1 who have already said, I was watching a show and they were saying things in Spanish and I understood what they were saying. And I was like, yep, that's why we do what we do. So
awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you both for being here today. And for everybody who's with us today, thanks for hanging out with us on Comprehend This. Seriously, we appreciate you choosing us over grading that mysterious stack of assignments that somehow grew legs and multiplied on your desk. A huge thanks to our amazing guests, Jackie and Karla. Jackie with the honesty and humor we all needed, and Karla bringing the kind of language acquisition expertise that makes the rest of us go, oh, cool. I also totally planned my curriculum on purpose. If today's episode gave you a new strategy, a good laugh, or just emotional validation that you are, in fact, not the problem, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with another teacher spiraling over student feedback this week. And remember, you can watch live on YouTube or catch the replay on your favorite podcast app. Ditch the drills, trust the process, and I'll see you next time on Comprehend This.